When I reflect on the people who can't acknowledge what they've done well and therefore don't feel proud of themselves in whatever capacity, when we turn that to, not having pride in their work, I think that's where I start to see, apart from guys or parents who have kids and then come back to FIFO and the struggle with that, right? Tossing up whether I should go home or not, is the people who lose pride in their work tend to be the ones who turn up and they're not really present, they're not focused, they don't really want to be there, they become frustrated with their job, and then that starts filtering out to all the interactions they have, right? And I think back to being a scaffy, and I say it to people, it's like, to you, scaff just looks like a bunch of steel that people threw everywhere, but like for us it was who can make the prettiest scaff. Who can make this bunch of steel and these planks and these fittings, who can make that look the best. And I realized when I left FIFO and left that, as well as the brotherhood, that I didn't have that like fulfilling pride, that thing every day where I was building something, and at the end of the day, through completion of doing that in hard work and being meticulous, I lost that sense of self-pride and didn't put that into anything else. And so, I was constantly chasing the coping mechanisms to fill that void.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to like having a purpose and showing up. Like I shared on site that a few weeks ago, coming off the training, respectful behaviours and safe workplaces, I really struggled with some stuff because we did this exercise, walk the line, and I really struggled with someone else in the room and their behaviour, and I was really triggered by it to the point where it had a negative impact on my personal life. I had a conversation with my psychologist and she gave me some advice which was not healthy, and then that impacted my relationship, and I just found myself over a few days like really deteriorating really quickly. Like my son sent me a text message like, "I'm sorry, Dad," because I perceived him to be really disrespectful. But that come back to this conversation we had about being right and being wrong is what happened, is what played out when I was able to step out and look at it. But what I found was, if I didn't have goldfields to go to set my alarm and get up at 4 AM and get on a plane, maybe I would have continued to spiral, right? But instead, I'm like, well, I have this thing, it's my purpose, it's my passion, I'm gonna get up and go, and my mental health has been really good since, right? So I think that, like, when we come back to the purpose piece for the scaffy, like building his thing, I think it's really important for people who are struggling with their mental health to find that thing. And it might be going to a surf club, it might be finding a group of mates to hang out with. For me, when I had really poor mental health, it was getting up and going for bike rides. And I'd ring my mates and said I'm not riding. My mates would come and knock on my door at 5:30 in the morning and go, "Get up, let's go," right? So I built that brotherhood in cycling, which kind of leads me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. I listened to this podcast with Tim Ferriss, I can't remember who he was talking to, but he talked about friendships, that we have these real friendships. And I have some real friendships that I've had with people for 20 years that I can just ring up and we can have real deep conversations, and we might connect once a month, once every 6 months, it doesn't really matter, we just pick up where we left off. Then he introduced this concept of like deal mates. So when you have this brotherhood, like when I had my mental health stuff, I lost my whole community because it was all connected to work. So we have this brotherhood of scaffy. When we leave, we lose that brotherhood. The concept that he introduced was like deal mates. So find someone you want to connect with. And it's funny, I just got a message from Martin Ball, who was someone that I decided that I wanted to become a deal mate with. And I didn't have the conversation with him. I just set the intention that when I'm with this guy, I'm going to be authentically myself, and that will either build into a really beautiful friendship or it won't, and that's okay. And it has built into a great friendship, and it's very much the same with us. We'll talk about this on site during the week.